Okay, we're about 2 weeks removed from the big news of Disney acquiring Star Wars Lucasfilms to do a new trilogy, episodes 7, 8, and 9. This is the first video where I'm going to talk about and explore storylines and ideas. Um, so we're about 2 weeks removed, like I was saying, and officially the first hire they hired a writer, Michael Arndt from Toy Story 3, as we learned. And but George Lucas, if you do the research, has speculated up to 2 trilogies, and there's including a writer who did a document or wrote a document or a biography on George Lucas in the 80s, who was real close to him and knew the storylines, and they're kind of going to follow that path, even though George Lucas and his puppet Kathleen Kennedy, who took over. At least George Lucas is going to be a consultant, so it'll still have the same feel. I kind of have the feeling that the only director that is the big name director that has shown interest and who's done recent blockbusters and who was a fan, I think it's got to be like a 70s or 60s or 70s, a director that's born and grew up with Star Wars. Jon Favreau might be looking to step in, who directed the Iron Man movies, as we know. Wow, so many things to explore here. First off, I don't know, I think they should just retire the Skywalker storyline personally. I think it just sounds kind of cheesy with them. With the first one, I think it's a direct sequel to Return of the Jedi, but a lot of people are talking about that it's going to be directly like 30 years later, meaning like Juke or like Lucas set up in the old or the New Republic, or Leia and Luke are setting up the New Republic. They're gathering things, and Luke is set up a new Jedi temple. You got to imagine. I think, but it's all about the villain. Obviously, they got to have a new iconic villain. First off, I'm going to explore a few different ideas. Just bear with me here. First one, let's say Palpatine doesn't even die. Ian McDiarmid, you know, the guy who played the Emperor Palpatine, Darth Sidious, he's still not even 70 years old. He's 68. But let's say he gets thrown down by Darth Vader into the Death Star shaft. The lightning cosmic reaction happens. Let's say his royal guards, the opening scene is the royal guards end up saving him, the red royal guards. Because let's face it, they haven't done shit but just look pretty, even though those were my favorite action figures of the Star Wars collection growing up, the red Emperor royal guards, dope. But it's almost like they gotta have a new face, a new identity, you know what I'm saying? Now the Thrawn trilogy, and by the way, villain profile number 8 coming up will be Grand Admiral Thrawn. I'm halfway through Heir to the Empire. You gotta imagine he's more of like a Star Trekian type of villain, but it would be nice for them to hand the torch off. It's not going to happen directly after. If they do, they could do directly after. What if Hayden Christensen plays Luke Skywalker, which would be really retarded? And, you know, they recast them all, even Han Solo. They hire Chris Hemsworth or something to play like Han Solo. It would be freaking retarded. But even old Han Solo and old Mark Hamill and old Carrie Fisher just don't even sound that appealing as the storyline. I'd rather have the transition of the in-between, and okay, let's say Emperor Palpatine, he was the Dark Lord, the head Lord of the Siths. They elect a new emperor to take over. Grand Admiral Thrawn, you know, he's just the head of the, he just runs the military, and he was his assignment during this whole thing was to basically establish the Empire in the unknown regions of the galaxy. That's why he survived the whole galactic war of the Return of the Jedi. And he comes over. He's the heir to the Emperor. But no, I think they will bring him on as like the henchman to the new elected Sith Lord from where the hidden Sith Society is. They gotta retire Darth Sidious, but the villain has to have the same ideas. And someone even suggested that they drop the Sith, which is just a terrible idea because that's the equal to the Jedis. The Sith were created like thousands of years ago from exiled Jedis who started teaching or started exploring in the dark side of the Force, as we know. So they got to come up with a new dope Dark Lord Sith to take over the Emperor. And I think Luke's got to have like the hidden, and for every apprentice, like they say, or for every Sith Lord, there's apprentice. There's got to be a hidden apprentice within inside that has infiltrated the Republic alongside Luke Skywalker. It's got to be one of his friends who he's known forever. Then he turns on him. There's got to be some intrigue. You know, they already have the rough outline. George Lucas hasn't told us shit. But basically, it'll probably start 30 years after, though, and they'll focus on Luke's kids and Luke and Leia's, like, Leia and Han Solo's kid or something stupid, which is just retarded. But they almost kind of claim that the Thrawn gap might be between 6 and 7, which is why he could still be the henchman and the Grand Admiral of the Emperor, of the remnants of the Imperial fleets that are left after the Return of the Jedi. And I'll explore all this even more in videos coming up. They better not do something stupid like hire Robert Pattinson as Skywalker and do it. I don't know, I just don't want to see it just sounds cheesy following Luke and Leia's kids. It's like already the third generation of Skywalkers. The prequels were pretty cool. It's nice to go into this trilogy not knowing what's going to happen, though. But the Jedi duels are going to be, the lightsaber duels are going to be amazing. But remember, every opening scene always starts in space, well, after the scroll of the sum up of what's going on. Obviously, they established the New Republic. They got to establish new Jedi trainings. They'll pick, there's so many, it's such an expanded universe, as we know, Star Wars, that they'll pick from, they'll pick characters and morph them into, like, different characters, kind of like how they do with every comic book movie. This is the sci-fi movie to end all sci-fi movies. So more speculation and ideas coming up. I wish they would retire the Skywalker storyline, like I was saying. You know how they says there is another, it could be Leia, it could be another bloodline, it could be another chosen one, a whole nother one in the galaxy, because it's huge, of course. Gotta have a new Dark Lord Sith, have the same ideas, like there's a Sith for every galaxy, and they appoint a new one to take over as the Emperor. It's going to be so badass. I cannot wait to see what they come up with. Anyway, this was JBM from VillainNews. Horror and comic book movie news discussions coming up. Click on my channel for all those videos. Send me a personal message if you want to talk Star Wars. And check out my Marvel Star Wars comic book reviews coming up. This is JBM. I'm out.